Thank you, Spirit, in me for allowing me to be here with these beautiful people, these beautiful faces, these beautiful extensions of who I am, because I know that we are all one. We are all one, and it's good. It is good. Anything that's unlike it is now melted away. It has no place here. It can't find any place, because this is the place. This is the place and the day that the Lord has made. Now that's established. Now we're talking this morning about new experiences in traveling. New experiences and traveling. I've just returned from being away. I was on the East Coast, but my big trip was in Italy. I traveled to Italy. I was in Italy, and what a beautiful trip that was. I hadn't been there in some years. I went back for a reason. I went back to Italy for a class reunion. I was reunited with students that I studied with some years ago. And I didn't realize the years had passed that fast. The years had gone by, and the numbers was big, you know. They was bigger than I had thought. It seemed like yesterday that we were over there studying, and I was walking through the streets of Florence, Italy. Such a beautiful place. Have any of you ever been to Florence? It's beautiful, isn't it? Yeah, it's beautiful and nice. And I was there, and I was transported back to the time I was there as a student in 1975. And I was thinking then that when I was traveling, what a unique opportunity to look at myself, and also to look at my philosophy and teachings that I've been studying since the time I had left that place. And also to look at my peers and the students that I'd gone to school with. The first night we had a big grand dinner, and I looked around and I saw all of the people that some I've known and some had come from other alumni from other classes. And I thought, who are all of these old people? That's what I thought, you know. And I realized when I was going to school, I was about 8 years older than my classmates, because I had been in the military for about eight years before I began school. And I'm seeing them as being old. And I thought, wow, isn't this an interesting way to use your mind and to use that perspective? That I'm seeing them as being old, and I wasn't looking at myself, you see. It reminded me of a story. And I get this story right off my chest. A lady had gone to her dentist. She had a new dentist. And as she was sitting in the dentist's chair before the dentist came in, she looked at the degrees on the wall, and there was a familiar name there. And she said, you know, that name seems familiar. I went to school. I went to high school with a young man with its same name. As a matter of fact, I had a crush on him all through high school. And she waited for the dentist to walk in. Well, when the dentist walked in, she saw an old, wrinkled, bald-headed, you know, overweight, she said, ugly man walk in. She said, who is this old, ugly, overweight, wrinkled man, she said. And so he worked on her teeth, and as he's worked and he's finished, and she was looking at him, and she said, she got up enough nerve to ask him, said, did you go to this high school? He said, yes, I went to the high school. I was a Mustang. She said, yeah. She said, did you graduate from the class of 1975? He said, yes, I did. I graduated from 75. What a great class. And she looked at him. She said, you know, I had someone that was part of my class. And she said, when she said that, she said, that old bald-headed, ugly, wrinkled man looked at me and said, were you the teacher? So, you know, so it's all perspective. So I started thinking about that when I was looking at all of those old folk there. But it was good. So we did Rome, did all of Rome. And in Rome, I was thinking about the making of the Western mind, the way that we think, the Western mind, the way that we look at the world. Our view of the world was made, it came through Rome. It came through Rome and, ancient Babylon, but it came through Rome. But our modern mind, when it hit Rome, it was filtered, it was changed, it was energized, and it was propelled into the now by Florence, by the Renaissance. And we can see it there in the art and the science that came from there. And when you go back there, you walk through those times, and I experienced them. I experienced them by looking at Michelangelo's David, this grand piece of art that depicted all of the goodness and the creative talent that each and every one of us have in a unique way. Some of us have it in voice. Some of us have it in fingers as we play the music. Some of us have it in other ways, and in jillions and jillions of different ways we have it. But Michelangelo, in carving life out of rock. And here's David. And when I've been to Florence, Italy 4 or 5 times. And the first time I went there, I went looking for David and found David. And the last time I went looking for David and found David. When you meet him, you see him, and out of this aliveness, you feel a part of David. It says when Michelangelo was carving David, it seemed to be so alive and so vibrant that he left a part of the head uncarved, because he didn't want him to walk off the pedestal. Now, that's a man who knew the goodness and godness in himself. And David has been alive all of these years, and thousands of people each day walk through and looking at David and marveling at what Michelangelo did this some 400 or 500 years ago. Well, all of this was going on in Florence at that time. You see, it was unique because before then you couldn't move out of the ordinary. You couldn't move out of the everyday type stuff because the world was stuck in the Dark Ages. You've heard about the Dark Ages, the Middle Ages, the Dark Ages, where if you thought out of a certain context, you were stoned or burned or killed or hanged or whatever happened when they pull your body apart and fling your body parts to different cardinal points of the world. You couldn't do that. You burned at stake. And Michelangelo, and at this period, coming up under the Florence regime of the Medicis, we started the change of the Renaissance. Now I'm speaking this because, as goes in the world in the race consciousness and race suggestion of the world, it goes also with us. In the world consciousness, it tends to stay in place, the world consciousness, the race consciousness. A thought pattern will come in and you have a whole period. It goes on. It takes some time for it to move. It takes a group thinking to change the projection of the world. Well, the same thing goes on in us every day and every moment. But what is unique about us, we can change a thought and we can have a renaissance every moment in our lives. We can change our stinking thinking